Have you ever made a decision and later wondered, wait, was that really my choice? Have you ever wanted something so badly, only to later realize that maybe, just maybe, you were programmed to want it? The truth is, society has been shaping your thoughts, desires, and even your beliefs in ways you don't even notice. And no, this isn't some wild conspiracy theory, it's psychological reality. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how society programs your mind through subtle mind control and social conditioning, and most importantly, how to break free from it. Let's dive in. What is social conditioning? Imagine this. You're born into the world, completely innocent, like a blank canvas. You don't know what's right or wrong, what's cool or cringe, what's normal or weird. But over time, something happens. From the moment you take your first breath, society starts programming you. Parents, teachers, media, traditions, all of them feed you a blueprint of how life should be. You're told what success looks like. You're taught what's acceptable and what's not. You're even conditioned to believe certain things about yourself, without ever questioning whether they're actually true. And the crazy part? Most of this happens without you even realizing it. Social conditioning is a deep-rooted psychological process that subtly shapes our behaviors, thoughts, and values through exposure and repetition. It's not something that happens in one dramatic moment. It happens in the smallest, everyday experiences. Think about it. Why do you dress the way you do? Because society has told you what's fashionable and what's not. Why do you think certain careers are more respectable than others? Because social norms have glorified some professions while looking down on others. Why do you hesitate before expressing a controversial opinion? Because society has taught you that going against the grain can lead to rejection. Social conditioning is powerful because it doesn't force us to act in a certain way. It makes us want to. It works so subtly that most people go their entire lives without realizing they've been conditioned. Think about it. When a belief or behavior feels like it comes from you, why would you ever question it? But where did that belief really come from? Let's break it down with real-life examples. 1. The illusion of choice in beauty standards. Imagine a woman looking in the mirror and thinking, "I need to lose weight to be attractive." She isn't consciously aware that this thought was planted in her mind by years of exposure to edited images, advertisements, and social norms that define beauty in unrealistic ways. From childhood, she sees billboards, magazine covers, and Instagram posts that glorify one specific body type. Movies and TV shows cast only certain types of people as attractive. Social media influencers promote products that profit off insecurity. By the time she reaches adulthood, she believes this beauty standard is her own preference. She might even say, "I just like the way thin bodies look." But is that truly her belief? Or was it planted there through repeated exposure? The hidden programming. The beauty industry profits billions by convincing people they are not enough as they are. The more insecure you feel, the more products you buy. How to break free. Start questioning beauty standards. Look at history. Different cultures and time periods had completely different ideals. If beauty were truly objective, why would it constantly change? 2. Success equals a 9-to-5 job and a mortgage. Now let's say a young man is choosing his career path. He dreams of becoming an artist, but his parents, teachers, and society tell him, "That's not a real job. You need something stable, like law, medicine, or business." Without realizing it, he absorbs this belief. Instead of questioning whether financial stability must come from a traditional job, he convinces himself, "I want a safe, well-paying job. I'll do art as a hobby." Years later, he's sitting in an office cubicle, feeling unfulfilled, but not knowing why. He never stopped to ask, who decided that stability only comes from a 9-to-5 job? Why is financial success defined in this way? Are there alternative paths that align more with my passions? The hidden programming. Society rewards predictability and discourages risk-taking. Traditional jobs make people easier to control within the system, while creative or unconventional paths are often seen as threats. How to break free. Seek out stories of people who defied convention, entrepreneurs, digital nomads, artists, and innovators who proved that success can come in many forms. 3. Gender roles and social expectations. A young boy falls and scrapes his knee. He starts to cry, but his father tells him, "Boys don't cry, be a man." Without realizing it, the child learns that showing emotion is weak. He grows up suppressing feelings, believing that vulnerability is something to be ashamed of. Fast forward 20 years, he struggles to express emotions in relationships, finds it hard to open up, and experiences inner turmoil, but doesn't know why. Why? Because the unconscious belief planted in him as a child, "Real men don't show weakness," has controlled his behavior for decades. The hidden programming. Gender roles are passed down through generations, shaping how people behave and perceive themselves, often to their own detriment. How to break free. Recognize that emotions are a human experience, not a gendered one. Start questioning how much of your identity was shaped by outdated stereotypes. Not all social conditioning is bad. Some of it is necessary for societies to function. Respecting traffic laws prevents chaos on the roads. Basic manners and politeness help people coexist peacefully. Education systems ensure knowledge is passed down to future generations. The problem arises when social conditioning limits us, makes us conform blindly, or prevents us from being our authentic selves. The next question is, how does society actually install these programs into our minds? Let's talk about one of the biggest influencers of all, the media. From movies to social media to the news, we are constantly bombarded with messages that shape how we think and feel. And here's where it gets interesting. Have you ever noticed how trends magically appear out of nowhere? One minute, nobody cares about a certain fashion style, and the next, everyone is wearing it. Coincidence? Not really. Companies and influencers use psychological triggers, scarcity, social proof, authority, to subtly make you feel like you have to follow the trend. If you don't, you risk feeling left out. And that's where FOMO, the fear of missing out, comes in. The same thing happens with news. The way events are reported, the words that are used, even the music behind a news segment, all of it is carefully designed to create a specific emotional reaction in you. This is why two people can watch the same event being reported in different ways and walk away with completely opposite beliefs. The next example is school, which is supposed to prepare us for life. It should teach us how to think critically, ask questions, and solve problems creatively. But in reality, most school systems do the opposite. They train students to follow orders, memorize facts, and conform to a rigid structure, conditioning them for a lifetime of obedience rather than independent thought. Let's break this down with real-life examples. Example 1. Memorization versus understanding. Picture a student sitting in a history class. The teacher says, "The Declaration of Independence was signed in 1776. The student memorizes this fact, writes it on the test, and gets an A. But does the student understand why the Declaration was written? Can they explain how it shaped the world today? Have they ever been encouraged to debate its ideas rather than just accept them? Most likely not, because in school, memorization is valued over comprehension. But in the real world, when has rote memorization ever been the key to success? Business leaders don't succeed by memorizing facts. They innovate by challenging existing ideas. Scientists make breakthroughs by questioning assumptions, not just repeating what's already known. Artists, entrepreneurs, and inventors push society forward by thinking differently, not by following formulas. Yet, school rarely rewards questioning or curiosity. Instead, students are trained to memorize, regurgitate, and move on. The hidden programming. If you don't question what you're taught, you grow into an adult who doesn't question what you're told, whether it's by the government, the media, or corporations. How to break free. Start asking why about everything. If you learned it in school, challenge yourself to find an alternative perspective. Example 2. The fear of failure. Let's say a student struggles with math and gets a failing grade on a test. They now believe, I'm just not good at math. But hold on, was the real issue intelligence, or was it the way they were taught? Maybe they needed a different approach, but the rigid school system doesn't allow for that. Maybe they could have improved with more time, but schools prioritize schedules over mastery. Maybe they simply had a bad day, but now they're permanently labeled as bad at math. And this is where school creates deep psychological scars. It teaches kids that failure is something to fear. But in reality, every great inventor failed countless times before succeeding. Entrepreneurs who succeed are often those who failed and learned from it. Even top athletes, musicians, and leaders make mistakes constantly, but they improve because of those mistakes. The hidden programming. School conditions people to avoid failure at all costs, and if you're afraid to fail, you'll never take the risks needed to succeed. How to break free. Start seeing failure as feedback, not a verdict on your abilities. If something doesn't work, analyze why, then adjust and try again. Example 3. The permission-based mindset. Think about how schools operate. Students have to raise their hand to speak. They need permission to go to the bathroom. They follow a strict schedule dictated by bells. On the surface, this seems harmless, but over time, this trains students to believe that authority must always grant permission before they can act. Now fast forward to adulthood. Many people hesitate to start a business because they feel they need approval from experts, share a creative idea because they fear rejection, challenge a rule or social norm because they've been conditioned to believe that's just the way things are. This obedience conditioning explains why so many people work jobs they hate because they feel like they have to. Never challenge unfair policies because the rules are the rules. Wait for permission to chase their dreams instead of just going for it. The hidden programming. If you've been trained to always seek permission, you'll never take control of your own life. How to break free. Start making decisions without waiting for approval. Take action, even if you don't feel ready. Successful people don't wait for permission. They create their own path. Example 4. Social labels and self-identity. From a young age, schools place kids into categories: smart versus struggling, popular versus outcast, athletic versus nerdy. And these labels stick. If a child is repeatedly told, "You're not good at science," they stop believing they ever could be. Think about it. The class clown grows up believing they can't be taken seriously. The quiet kid struggles with confidence in social situations. The troublemaker assumes they'll never succeed in structured environments. But here's the truth. These labels are just social constructs. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs were bad students. Some of the most brilliant minds were called troublemakers for challenging the system. Some of the most creative individuals were labeled weird before they changed the world. The hidden programming. School locks people into identities that limit their full potential. How to break free. Stop defining yourself based on past labels. You are not who the system told you to be. You are whoever you choose to become. Schools were originally designed not to create free thinkers, but to produce obedient workers for the industrial age. The system rewards compliance, not curiosity. It teaches people to accept authority without question, not to challenge outdated ideas. The good news? You don't have to stay programmed. Start questioning, start thinking independently, and start breaking free. Because the real world doesn't reward obedience. It rewards those who think for themselves. Ever heard the phrase, "That's just how things are done"? That's cultural programming at its finest. Every culture has its own set of unwritten rules. Some are helpful, but many are just mind traps that keep people stuck in patterns without questioning them. These unspoken norms can guide our behavior, but when they become restrictive, they can stifle personal growth and happiness. One example of this is how fearful we are of standing out or going against the grain. What happens if you go against cultural norms? You might be seen as weird or even wrong. The fear of judgment is what keeps most people in line, never questioning the rules they were handed. This fear of standing out can have a powerful hold on people, even when the norm is clearly limiting. Take the case of someone deciding to drop out of a prestigious university to follow their passion for social work or entrepreneurship. They might be criticized by peers, parents, or mentors who view their decision as irresponsible or misguided just because it doesn't fit the traditional definition of success. The pressure to conform is so strong that many would rather stay in a career or lifestyle that doesn't make them happy, rather than face the potential shame or rejection of standing out. In today's world, we also see a growing movement against these cultural norms. Think of people choosing minimalism over the consumer-driven lifestyle, or rejecting marriage and children as a societal expectation. The rise of unconventional careers like influencer or digital nomad also challenges the idea that traditional career paths are the only way to succeed. The bottom line is that we often feel pressured to follow cultural norms because we fear standing out or facing judgment. But in reality, embracing individuality can lead to a life that's more fulfilling and true to our own values. The key is to recognize when you're acting out of genuine desire versus just following the crowd. The first step to breaking free? Start questioning everything. Ask yourself, why do I believe what I believe? Are my goals truly mine, or were they handed to me? Who benefits from me thinking this way? Most people never stop to ask these questions. Be the person who does. Let me give you some real-life examples of how powerful questioning can be. The right way to live. Think about the life script that society hands you. Go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, buy a house, work until retirement. But why? Who decided this was the right way? Is this what I really want, or am I just following the script? What would my life look like if I built it on my own terms? In many cultures, people who step outside this script, whether by choosing not to marry, not having kids, or living an unconventional lifestyle, are often judged. But those who dare to question and redefine their path are usually the ones who end up the most fulfilled. Another key to breaking free is exposing yourself to new perspectives. Read books that challenge your worldview. Travel to places where people think differently. Have conversations with people outside your usual circle. The more perspectives you absorb, the more you'll start to see the invisible strings that have been controlling you. Most people never question the things that shape their lives. They follow beliefs, traditions, and expectations without ever stopping to ask, do I actually agree with this? The moment you start questioning, you take your first step toward real freedom. Lastly, be mindful of what you consume. Every video, every post, every news article. It's either programming you or helping you deprogram. Choose wisely. Start filtering what enters your mind. Follow creators who encourage independent thinking. Read content that makes you question, not just blindly agree. Let me give you some real-life examples of how the things you consume shape your thoughts, beliefs, and even your emotions. 1. The social media bubble. Have you ever noticed how your social media feeds seem to reinforce what you already believe? That's because algorithms are designed to keep you engaged, and the best way to do that is by showing you content that confirms your existing beliefs. Let's say you start watching videos about a certain political viewpoint. Over time, the algorithm feeds you more of the same, making you think, wow, everyone thinks this way. This must be the truth. But in reality, you're in an echo chamber, a digital bubble where you only see one side of an issue. Meanwhile, someone on the opposite side of the spectrum is experiencing the same thing, but with completely different content. The result? A world where people are more divided than ever because they never see or understand perspectives outside their own bubble. Solution: start following people who challenge your beliefs. Even if you disagree, hearing different viewpoints forces you to think critically instead of just reacting emotionally. 2. The news and fear-based programming. Think about the last time you watched the news. How did it make you feel? Most mainstream news outlets thrive on fear, outrage, and division because that's what keeps people watching. If everything was fine and peaceful, people wouldn't feel the urgency to tune in 24/7. Ever wonder why news stories are often framed in a way that makes you anxious or angry? It's because when you're in a state of fear or rage, you're easier to control. For example, during economic downturns, news outlets might focus heavily on recession fears, making people panic about money, even if their personal situation hasn't changed. This anxiety leads people to make irrational financial decisions, like pulling investments or overspending on unnecessary security measures. Solution: instead of passively consuming fear-based news, try reading neutral, fact-based sources. Better yet, take breaks from the news altogether. If something is truly important, you'll find out about it. 3. Entertainment and subconscious conditioning. Ever wondered why so many movies and TV shows follow the same formula? The hero's journey, the romantic subplot, the idea that happiness equals success plus love plus wealth. It's because entertainment plays a massive role in social conditioning. For example, romantic movies often portray love as the ultimate goal in life. If you don't have a relationship, you're somehow incomplete. Luxury lifestyle influencers make it seem like wealth equals happiness, when in reality, some of the wealthiest people are also the most miserable. Reality TV shows normalize toxic behaviors like manipulation, gossip, and superficiality, subtly making people believe that's how life should be. Now, this doesn't mean you should stop watching movies or listening to music, but be aware of how these messages shape your subconscious beliefs. Solution: instead of consuming content passively, start watching with awareness. Ask yourself, what message is this content sending me? Who benefits from me believing this? Is this reinforcing a mindset that serves me, or is it limiting me? Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant in it will grow. If you constantly feed it negativity, manipulation, and mindless entertainment, that's what will take root. But if you nurture it with knowledge, curiosity, and independent thinking, you'll start to break free from social conditioning and see the world with fresh eyes. So, what will you choose to consume today? What's the takeaway? Society is always shaping your mind, but you get to decide how much influence it has. The goal isn't to rebel against everything, it's to become aware of when you're being influenced so that you can make conscious choices that align with your true self. So next time you make a decision, pause and ask yourself, is this really my choice? Or was I programmed to think this way? Let me know in the comments. What's one belief you've questioned recently? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found this video eye-opening, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. More mind-expanding content is on the way. See you in the next video.